In a small Serbian home, early in the morning, a round loaf of bread rises slowly in the oven, its crust stamped with a cross. On the wall above the table, a small painted icon has just been hung freshly with a bright new ribbon.
No wedding is happening today, no birthday either, yet the whole house has been quietly cleaning since dawn broke.
A tall white candle waits unlit beside a shallow bowl of boiled wheat grains, ready for later. The mother sets out extra glasses on the long table, far more than her own family could ever possibly need.
No invitations were mailed out to anyone. No calendar reminder was sent to a single neighbor down the street.
And yet, by midday, the doorbell has already rung twice before the food is even fully ready. This particular candle, this particular loaf, only appear once a year, always on one exact, unmovable date.
Every other day of the year, that same candle and that same loaf recipe stay quietly in the cupboard. But today belongs to someone the family has never met in person and honestly never will meet.
A patron saint, chosen by ancestors many generations ago, is still watching over this exact kitchen table today.
This is Serbia, and the celebration is called Slava, and it fully explains itself the moment the first guests start arriving uninvited. The first guest at the door hasn't been told a time or a date by any message, nothing at all. In Serbia, there is an old saying, you don't get invited to a Slava, you simply come.
Whoever remembers the date is expected to show up, and the host is expected to welcome them like family.
For Serbian families, this single day of the year ranks second in importance only to Christmas itself.
But it isn't a national holiday. There's no single date marked the same way on every calendar.
Each family keeps its own saint, its own date, inherited like a name passed through generations.
One household might celebrate in November. Their neighbors, just next door, might celebrate an entirely different saint in May.
The saint isn't chosen freely by anyone alive today. It is inherited, almost always passed down from father to son. A daughter keeps her father's saint only if she never marries. A married woman takes her husband's instead. So the celebration isn't really about the saint choosing the family. It's about the family choosing to remember.
That memory reaches back further than most families could ever trace by name alone. Generation folded into generation.
Long before these households were Christian at all, they already kept a different kind of household guardian entirely. When Christianity arrived, families didn't abandon that instinct to protect the hearth. They simply gave it a new name.
A saint became the household's protector, its silent, permanent guest of honor, welcomed back every single year without fail.
And that is why, in Serbia, walking into the right house on the right day means walking into an open door. No knock required. No response needed in advance. Just the date, remembered, and an appetite for celebration. To understand why, rewind further to a time before Serbia had a single Christian family at all. Early Slavic families didn't pray to distant gods. They kept a household spirit tied to their own home and hearth.
That spirit was believed to protect the family specifically, not the village, not the region, just one family line. When Christianity spread across the region, that instinct never really disappeared. It simply found a new form to live in. Families chose a Christian saint to fill the exact role their old household spirit once quietly held. Often they picked the saint whose feast day landed closest to the day their ancestors were first baptized.
Saint Sava, the founder of the Serbian Orthodox Church, is often credited with helping the custom spread widely.
For centuries, it stayed a loose, local custom, practiced a little differently from village to village.
It wasn't until 1862 that a Serbian church leader wrote the tradition down into a single shared form.
That written version is largely the same Slava families still celebrate today, more than a century and a half later.
At the center of the ritual sits the Slavski kolach, a round bread stamped with a cross before baking. The host, or sometimes a priest, pours red wine slowly over the top of that bread.
Then the loaf is rotated together 3 times by the people holding it, while a blessing is spoken aloud.
Finally, it's cut crosswise into 4 pieces and lifted before being broken apart and shared at the table.
Beside the bread sits a bowl of zito, wheat grains boiled soft and sometimes lightly sweetened.
The very first thing offered to any guest, before food, before wine, is a small spoon of that wheat. It's a quiet gesture rooted in old harvest customs, a wish for abundance passed from host to guest.
The tall candle gets lit at the very start of the day and is left to burn until it's gone. Its flame is meant to burn the entire time the celebration lasts, never blown out early.
If a godparent, called a cum, is present, that role often falls to them instead of the host.
Guests arrive all day, in waves, some staying only minutes, others staying for hours over many courses.
The table itself depends on the calendar. If it falls during a fasting period, the food changes completely.
On non-fasting days, the table fills with roasted meats, cured sausages, cheeses, and layered savory pies.
Whatever the menu, one thing never changes: a toast, raised to the health of everyone gathered.
The phrase repeated most often across the whole day is simple: Srećna Slava, which means happy Slava.
For most of the 20th century, this remained an almost entirely private household-level tradition, rarely discussed outside the family.
It never needed outside recognition to matter. It survived purely because families kept choosing to keep it going.
In 2014, UNESCO formally added Slava to its official list of the world's intangible cultural heritage.
It was recognized specifically as a living, evolving tradition of family devotion, not a frozen museum piece. The listing didn't change how families celebrate. It simply gave the wider world a name for what they'd always done. Because for the people actually setting the table, Slava was never something that needed outside validation.
It needed a candle, a loaf of bread, and a door someone was willing to leave open.
Every generation that keeps the same saint is, in a small way, keeping a promise made long before they were born.
The saint's name might be centuries old. The people gathered under it are always brand new.
That contrast, an ancient symbol, fresh faces every year, is exactly what keeps the tradition feeling alive.
It bends and adapts to fit whichever family happens to be holding it in that particular year. Today, plenty of Serbian families still celebrating Slava don't actually live in Serbia at all anymore. In cities like Chicago, Vienna, or Melbourne, the same candle gets lit inside much smaller apartments.
The Slavski kolach still gets rotated by hand, even if the guest list has to shrink to fit the space.
Because so many households now keep different saints on different days, families lean on shared calendars and group chats. A cousin abroad might get reminded by a message instead of a knock on the door.
Some younger families have simplified the ritual a little. A shorter blessing, a smaller loaf, fewer courses overall. Others have kept every single step exactly as their grandparents performed it, unwilling to trim a single gesture. Either version still starts the same way. The door stays open, and no one needs an invitation to walk through it. That openness is what visitors from outside the culture tend to notice first and remember longest.
A stranger, a coworker's plus one, a neighbor who just moved in, all get treated as guests of honor. Nobody checks a guest list at a Slava because there was never a guest list to check.
The custom asks only one real question. Did you come to honor this house and its saint today?
If the answer is yes, in any language, from any background, the wine gets poured and the toast gets raised. That's arguably why the tradition has traveled so easily to wherever Serbian families have eventually settled. It doesn't need a grand hall or a formal invitation. It only needs a candle, a loaf, and a door. And as long as someone remembers the date, the celebration finds a way to happen anyway.
Step back far enough from all the ritual detail, and Slava isn't really about the saint at all. It's about a family choosing on purpose every single year to leave its own front door open.
No special occasion required beyond the date itself. No apology ever needed for whoever shows up. In most places around the world, hospitality has to be scheduled, planned, and sometimes even earned first.
In this one Serbian tradition, though, hospitality simply has to be remembered, nothing more. The candle burns down to nothing by the end of the night, exactly as it's meant to.
The bread gets shared down to the last crumb, passed from hand to hand around the table,
and the door, which was never locked to begin with, closes gently once the last guest has gone.
Next year, on that very same date, the same front door will simply open again, right on cue. Not because an invitation ever arrives, because the family remembers, and that has always quietly been enough.
It's a small, stubborn kind of loyalty. To a saint, to a family line, to an open door.
And maybe that's the one real lesson worth carrying home from a single Serbian Slava table. You don't always need a big reason to gather the people you actually care about.
Sometimes all it really takes is remembering one date and leaving the door quietly unlocked. The fox looks back at that open doorway, candlelight glowing warm just past the threshold.
Because the best traditions, like the best doors, are the ones left open for whoever remembers to come.